Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. Today we are going to dive into really interesting topic, how to come up with startup ideas. If you ever found yourself thinking I want to start something or but I don't know what, then you are in the right place. We will exploring Paul Graham's guide on generating startup ideas, breaking it down into simple steps and ideas that anyone can follow. So whether you are an inspiring entrepreneur or someone just curious about the startup world, stay with me. Let's make sense of this whole process together. All right, let's kick off things by talking about how we usually go about finding startup ideas. You know how sometimes when you sit down to think of an idea, you just end up with nothing. It's frustrating, right? So, Paul Graham actually says that the wrong approach. Instead of trying to force an idea, he suggests looking for problems, right? Think about it. The best businesses out there solve a problem. And that's where you should start. Don't think I need to come up with startup ideas. Instead, ask yourself, what problems do I see around me? So, for that, Paul Graham also pointed out that the best startup ideas have three common things. Now, what exactly it is? So, number one is they solve a problem you personally want to fix. Number two is you can build it yourself, or at least you have the skill to. And number three is few others realize its problem was solving. This makes sense, right? The idea should come from something you care about, not just something that sounds cool or trendy. It should be something that matters to you because at the end of the day, if you are not passionate about the problem, then why would you stick with it when things get tough? He also gives a warning, avoid what he calls made up or sitcom startups. These are ideas that sounds good in theory but don't really solve anything in the real world. I always think of these as in a shiny object syndrome ideas. They grab your attentions but they are just not practical. So please avoid made up or sitcoms startups. And second thing is so now exactly the we know we need to focus on our problems, but how do we find these problems? This is where Paul gives something great. First thing is look at problem you have. What's working you in your daily life? If something is in a pain point for you, chances are it's annoying someone else too. So this is what the first thing. So first is look at the problem you have. What bugging you in your daily life, and there is 100% chances if you are having any problem, then 100% chances are it's annoying someone else too. Then after the first thing, first advice. Second, then he talk about living in future. What does that mean? It's about thinking ahead. Where is the world heading? What trends are emerging? And more importantly, what's missing from those trends? A good startup idea often comes from spotting a gap in what coming next. And another tip is to always be at leading edge of a changing field. Technology, for instance, is moving at an insane pace. If you can keep up with those changes, you are in a great position to see what's missing before everyone else does. And finally, start small but a real need. Don't try to solve problem for everyone right away. Find a specific group of people who really needs what you are offering. This is what's called a niche market. And it's often the best place to start. You can always expand later. And now here's the fun part. What does a startup ideas actually look like? Paul says that good startup ideas should seem obvious, but only after you have had them. You ever come across a product and think, why didn't I think of that? That's a sign of good idea. It's funny because when you come up with a really good ideas, it's almost feel like you are lead to the game. Like surely someone else has already thought of this. But Paul says that's actually not the case. Many times people feel this way when they are actually right on time. And here is something I love. Great startup ideas can come from ambitious project or even from toys. It might sound weird, but sometimes playful or experimental projects can lead to something serious. Think about Google. It started as a side project, right? Okay, let's talk about competition for a second. Because I know a lot of people get discouraged when they see someone else already doing something similar to their idea. But here's the truth: competition is not something to fear. Paul says it's incredibly rare for a startup to get killed by competitors. So, rare, in fact, that you can almost ignore it. If you see something and if you see competition, it's actually might be a good thing because it means there is market for what you are building, right? So just because someone else is doing something similar, it doesn't mean you cannot do it better, right? So competition is often a sign that you are on the right track. Now, there are two filters that Paul says you should turn off when thinking about startup ideas. The first is unsexy filter. Some problems are not glamorous, but they are still incredibly valuable. For example, things like logistic accounting or supply chain solutions. They are not exactly exciting topics, but they can lead to hugely successful business because they solve real and tough problems in the world. Second filter is the SLAP filter, SCHELEP, slash filter. This one is about avoiding ideas that involves hard, tedious work. But the truth is, many ideas that require tedious work are the one people are willing to pay. Don't shy away from the grunt work if it solves a real world problem. These are the two filters. And all right, as we are wrapping up, I want to leave you with a few simple techniques that all suggested to help you to find good startup ideas. Number one is look for things you need in your own life. If there's something you wished exist, that's a clue. Second is ask yourself what you wish someone else would build. Sometimes you need are just waiting to be solved by you. Third one is talk to other people about gaps they see in the world. You would be surprised how many great ideas come from simple conversations. Fourth one is not third one. Look at dying industries and think about what might be replace them. They are always opportunities when industries are in decline phase. And fifth one is last one. The lastly, make something unsexy that people will still pay for. These ideas are often hidden gold mines. So, to sum it all up, I don't try to force an idea. Instead, focus on solving real world problems, especially ones you personally encounter. Don't worry about competition or whether your idea seems boring or too much work. As long as it solves a real need, you are on the right track. I hope today's episode helped you and you got some clarity how to come up with startup ideas that really matters. And thanks for hanging out with me today. And remember, live in the future and build what seems interesting. That's the real secret. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching and listening.